Okay, so mental illness. You might think of mental illness as an autoimmune disorder of the psyche, a mind that turns against itself, right? The story we tell ourselves about ourselves is no longer convincing. Our patterns of thinking become self-defeating. It's a horrible thing. We become trapped in negative loops. We become oppressed by patterns of thought that pillage our inner life. Both depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder all originate in the same place, a brain that has become too ordered. What neuroscientist Robin Carhart-Harris calls the entropic brain theory. And so what is needed is a kind of shaking of the snow globe that gets us out of this locked-in syndrome of sorts, right? We need to shake the snow globe. We need to be reset, right? We need to be literally dissolved. New parts of the brain need to talk to themselves. Think of the ego, the organizing principle of the self in the mind, as the freeway, the patterns of thinking that work for us, that map our world until they become oppressive, until they no longer work. And now we're stuck on the 405 and it's full of traffic and we're not moving and it sucks. And so what is needed is for parts of the brain to start exploring other synaptic pathways. We need to take side roads. We need to be rethought. We need to be remade. We need to be reborn. And this is what psychedelics promise to do. By disrupting the default mode network, psychedelics literalize, catalyze a shaking of the snow globe. They open up what Robin Carhart-Harris calls pivotal mental states of heightened plasticity. And what occurs in these states of heightened plasticity is that we can go in and perform an open heart surgery of the psyche. What unfolds in those spaces, in those pivotal mental states, is akin to inverse PTSD, right? It's entering God mode. It's making deep adjustments, reconciliations, right? All contradictions are reconciled and man has surpassed the gods, right? It's a higher level order that reveals that those contradictions are actually reconciled, right? Think of it as the thesis and the antithesis. And this is the problem of depression, of anxiety, of opposing and conflicting ways of being and ways of seeing. You are not in congruence, you are tied in a knot. So you have thesis and antithesis, and the solution doesn't exist in that dimension of reality. What psychedelics do is they reveal not just the thesis, not just the antithesis, but the synthesis, which is a higher level order dimension that again reveals that those paradoxes actually reconcile, and now you see what you've been looking for. Whereas once you were blind, now you can see, right? All of your desires abolished by the plenitude of their satisfaction. It's a parting of the seas moment. Psychedelics open up the space for that to happen. But how do you create spaces for this to scale? How do you create spaces where thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people can undergo these kinds of transformations? How do you synthesize the compounds so that you can have efficacy, so you can control dosing, so you can create the guardrails for people to experience these pivotal mental states where they shake the snow globe? Well, this is where we need enterprise. This is where we need capital. This is where we need the psychedelic revolution, comprised of startups that are going to change the world.